When looking at the 160k mark or slightly higher budget wheels, I used to think that the Polo Vivo from what I've driven was probably the best in its segment. That was until Suzuki came along with the Ignis, and I'm not gonna make the igniting puns. That's not gonna happen in this video. Nope. What is this? The Suzuki Ignis is the latest offering from the land of JDM, starting from 169,000 rands. As tested here, we have the 189k top of the range 1.2 liter GLX, and yes, it's a 1.2. Now, don't click off this video, just give me a chance to explain. This isn't any 1.2 liter. No, we'll get to that in a moment. But down to the business. Anyways, it looks to be a purposeful lightweight, and I'm not kidding about the lightweight, mini SUV city thingamajig thing that takes design elements from past Suzuki models, like the gills on the rear from the Whiz Kid back in the day. It mixes funk and character quite nicely to play a song that tingles your driving soul. What do I think? The Ignis reminds me strongly of well-made candy floss. It's light and fluffy like a cloud, it's lovable, and it's not too sweet, but the right kind of sweet that won't leave you for sugar rush and bad cavities. It's got the funk and definitely ignites the... No, I'm not gonna make that pun. No, we're not making puns today. It's roomy, the seats are decently bolstered and supportive for a car in this class. The first thing that really surprised me about this car is how damn light the clutch is on this, and I am not kidding, this clutch is beyond light. It's reached a whole new level of light. It's... Nothing at all. Inhale. The steering is pretty light too, and it's not too numb surprisingly, with a steering wheel that grips nicely in the hand. Some ergonomics include keyless entry with keyless start, Bluetooth radio, USB, and aux, which should have been seen in the Swift. I need aux in this car, not just USB. 260 litre boot space with 60/40 rear split seats, and electric air conditioning are present. With electric aircon, I scheme this should be standard equipment in this range of cars, especially with South African heat and the way we thrash our cars here, and many will know why I said that in particular. Now on to power. There's a common misconception that a 1.2 litre will require copious amounts of lead foot action in order to get this car going, but you'd be quite wrong. In testing with 3 adults in the car and a nice array of inclines, declines, and even with the aircon on, despite it being electric and all that jazz, it doesn't really affect the engine power. This engine did not break a sweat. Not once when I drove the Ignis did a guy go, well, did I go past 4,000 revs, even with me going up an incline. And mind you, the red line on this car is around 6,500 revs. Even as you rev it out, there isn't an annoying tone. This car happily sings and goes about its business. It's not an annoying buzzing tone that you hear in some of these cars. It wants to be revved, and my word, this thing actually sips fuel. Tasty 4.9 kilometers. No, 4.9 kilometers. 4.9 liters per 100 Ks. What is going on with my English today? In addition to that, this car's curb weight is just shy of 850 kgs, which is light. That is nothing. And because of that lightweight nature, the Ignis gets up to speed easily, and it's easy to throw around with pleasurable fun. You would also think that since the car is lightweight. Goodness, I'm only doing one take with this. You'd think because this car is lightweight, it's unsafe. And to that I say, nah son. In its Euro NCAP test, the base model Ignis scored 79% for both child and adult occupant safety, as well as 67% for pedestrian safety. And the lowest being the safety assist at 25%, but that's really just down to features like safety stuff and tricks with the car, from what I can gather. And it's a decent score rate. I mean, that's why I got 3 stars, but it's actually a pretty safe car, I must say. And it also feels pretty solid to boot. There's a lot to like about the Ignis, a lot to like indeed. Plus it's a car with a lot of character, and not just in the way it looks, but how it drives also. It's a good reflection in the mirror of fun. Something you don't really see in this segment, and I really do appreciate that. Honesty section! Gotta keep it real, people, and it's actually quite hard to find fault in the Ignis. It drives well, it's decently priced, but the only thing that kind of bugs me is just the rear styling of the car. The front and the side, bellissima, but when we get to the rear and it's just like, okay, what happened with the design language? But that really is just a nitpick for me. I would have preferred rear styling with the taillights positioned next to the rear windshield, like, you know, Ford Figo style, and maybe a slightly beefier steering wheel and less white plastics in the interior, because those can be a bit of a mission to keep clean. But other than that, there's actually nothing really. And to solve the beefier wheel problem, there is actually a leather wrap steering wheel in other markets, but the thing is, I don't know if it applies to the South African market. That remains to be seen. The verdict. The Suzuki Ignis is a car for the South African market I feel makes a lot more sense than its rivals. The normal Toyota Etios is, it does the job alright. The Renault Sandero, I hated its gearbox. And the new Figo I haven't really driven, so no comments there really. But I will say for the old one, you really did have to thrash that engine and it wasn't really all that fuel efficient, but it was alright for what it was. And it just left the Polo as what I thought was pretty much the best in its range, except for one niggling issue, which I'll talk about in another video. And I think the Ignis is going to be sitting next to that spot in, well, not next to that spot, in that spot with the Polo as one of the best in its range at that price. And well, the Ignis is here to ignite something into the range, and I can't believe I let out such a pun entirely, and yeah, that says a lot about my writing. But anyways, that fumble aside, I think it's a car that many South Africans need to take a look at. And it's finally a car that can compete in German versus Japan, other than a Polo Vivo that can be stanced affordably. Japan finally has a chance, and I'm not even a fan of stance. Why am I saying this? Should you give the Ignis a whack or let it drive away? I mean, hell yeah, give this car a whack. I recommend it fully. And of course, thanks to the folks at Suzuki Bramley for letting me try out the Ignis. I really do appreciate it, and yeah. Guess I'll see you next time.